Okay, so this is the second handout I sent out. So this is this is kind of a comparison of between what we're going to be doing from here on out and what we did before. So this is our financial income statement. This is the income statement you guys have seen forever. Sales, cost of goods sold, we talked, we did all that. Gross margin or gross profit, on expenses, income. This is what you guys have been doing through the first accounting class and through this one so far. Moving into chapter 19, we do things a little bit differently. In that, in this one, we're very aware of what things go to, how you classify items based on whether they are for making the product or selling the product, but you look at what they are. What are they? How much do you have in selling expenses? How much do you have in overhead and all that kind of stuff? Over here, your more question is, how do the costs behave? And we really don't care what they are, or what they really are. We only care how they behave. As our production goes up, which costs go up, and as production goes up, which costs don't stay the same. So these are the new kind of accounts we're going to have. Now these two, they're both income statements, they're not the same, and they won't even come from the same income a lot of times. So these are not the same. We have variable costs instead of cost of goods sold, and we have fixed costs instead of expenses. And notice that the gross margin is now called the contribution margin. So these are two completely different financial statements. Now this one, the financial accounting statement is to report income. And it does a good job of it. How much income did we make? Are we profitable or not? The second one here, the managerial income statement, is to make decisions. And we're going to find out that this is a lot better at making decisions than, this is a lot better at making decisions than this one. Not saying this one's wrong, it's not, it's considered to report income, but this one, if you want to make a decision, is a more important one. Okay, and here's just a couple of definitions we'll kind of go over. So variable costs, you don't need to write these down. Variable costs are costs that will increase in total as production increases. So the more you produce, the more they go out. So let's take an example. Bicycle manufacturing. So as cost will increase as production increases, well, if you make one bicycle, you need 2 tires. You make 2 bicycles, you need 4 tires and all that kind of stuff. So tires would be variable. The more bikes you produce, the more tires you need. labor. The more bicycles you make, the more you have to pay people for more hours or hire more people. So tires, labor, there could be other things in there too. For instance, electricity. The more bicycles you make, the more machines you got to run, the more electricity. So these are all things that, if you're making bicycles, these are things that will be variable costs. Okay, fixed costs. Cost that will remain the same or be unchanged. Oops. In total. Okay, so they will not change. They'll be exactly the same. So fixed costs will remain the same. Yeah, change however you want to put it. Examples, rent. If you're renting out a building, it doesn't matter how many bicycles you make. Other things could be for some insurance, fire insurance, that kind of stuff. So those are things that you would not generally change. It could be a mortgage for the place. But those are things that you could, that it doesn't matter how many you make, the cost is the same. You may already have this in econ classes or in your some marketing classes and that sort of thing. Okay, so let's go to the main handout. Hold on a second. Okay. All right. If we're just looking for the income, but we could calculate this contribution margin, but we really don't need it if we just want the income. Your income could just be sales minus variable costs minus fixed costs equals your income. You could put it in, but for a lot of our calculations, we really don't need it. So I'm going to go through and do the income one without it for first here, anyways. Okay. So we're going to have our sales minus our variable costs minus our fixed costs equal our income. Okay, now they tell us 1,000 units are sold. And they tell us that the selling price per unit is 70. What is it, 70,000? So this is money coming in. These costs are going to be money going out. And then what's left over is going to be income. Okay. Variable cost. 1,000 units, the variable cost per unit is 50. Now I put these in as a negative, you'll notice, because these are costs. These are costs, so this is negative. The more we make, it's going to cost. So these would be like if we're making bicycles, these would be like bicycle tires, whatever, bicycle seats, bicycle handlebars, whatever. Fixed costs will always just be the same. They're fixed. So for instance, your rent. What orange? And you might say, well, fixed cost, why don't we multiply it by the units? Fixed cost doesn't matter the units. So if this is the total fixed cost, this is going to be, for instance, that might be your rent. It doesn't matter how many units you make. You don't pay rent per bicycle, you pay rent. Okay, so I don't need my ruler here, but made it look a little worse. But anyway, okay, so this will be showing up. All right. How strange. Okay, let's see. You can guys see it. Okay, so this will be 70,000 minus 50,000 minus 8,000. So 12,000 will be our income. That's they usually call that the operating income, but sometimes it's called income. So it's the income. Sometimes it's called operating income. It's a little bit different. There's actually an operating income in financial accounting. So calling it that is a little bit confused, can be confusing. But yeah. And this probably will not match the true operating income of a company. But you'll see this used a lot. Okay, so that was if we made 1,000 units. So down here it says, well, what if we don't make 1,000? We can make 2,000. What will happen to the income? Well, everything's the same, except instead of 1,000 units, we now have 2,000. So I'll have sales. Okay, so instead of 1,000, we have 2,000. Units times 70 is 140,000. Too many. We have 2,000 units for the variable cost. Our fixed costs are still 8,000. They're fixed, they don't change. For instance, your rent. Okay, so pink marker, there it is. Okay, so $140,000 came in. For variable costs, 100,000 went out. And for fixed costs, okay. So $140,000 minus 100,000 minus 8. Okay, so now this is something you cannot do with the old income statement. If you look at income statement, if your sales double, you don't know what's going to happen with the costs. So that's why we hit the camera. No, we don't hit the camera. So let me move this up a little bit. So what you learn is that if you sell twice as many, you'll notice your income more than doubles. So doubling the sales will more than double the income. Why? Because of this. These two don't change. So even though you sold a lot more, they don't change. So that's why this, when you double your income, you will more than double, or double your sales, you'll more than double your income if there's any fixed cost. And again, this is something you cannot do with the old income statement we had before. Okay, so second one. The second one is similar. Selling price per unit. Now, we actually have two variable costs per unit. So it's kind of the same as the other one. Now, it is probably easier just to, oops, that's not what I wanted. It's probably easier just to add these two together and make them into one variable cost. And again, we don't really care so much what it is for. All variable costs go together. All fixed costs go together. So there's no problem with combining these because we're not worried about what they are. We're worried about how they behave as production goes up. Me, I just bored myself. Okay, so this is, so if you add those two together, I think it comes out to 31. So 6 plus 25. I kind of smeared it there, but okay, and everything else now is just the same. All right, so we had 500 units. Selling price is 40. Uh, 500 units. That's my dog barking. Times 31. Again, I'm going to use this number, 31. You could do 2 lines, one for each of those, but you don't need to just combine them. Okay, so and fixed costs are 2,000. Okay, so let's see here. So 20,000 came in, and these two went out. Okay. So 20,000 minus 15,000 minus 2 comes out to. Oh, I know, there we go. Look at that. Oops. 20,000. 15,000. So if we sold 500 units, that would be our income. Again, you can't do this with the old income statement. Coming down here, everything's the same, except now we have 600 units. 24,000 came in. The rest of these went out, so 600. Yeah, then also this one, fixed cost. Okay. Okay. 4,000 minus 18,600 minus 2,000, 3,400. Yep. Where my other paper? Ah. All right. So again, using variable and fixed costs, we can actually calculate what the income would be. This is something you cannot do with the regular income statement. And the reason you can't do a regular income statement is, well, you remember the overhead that goes into cost of goods sold. Some of it was factory rent. It could be supervisor salaries. It could be, goods, raw materials, or direct materials directly. You don't know what's going to happen when you increase production. You don't know what's going to happen here. Because some of these expenses are probably fixed and some are variable. For instance, you may give a sales commission. So that would be variable, but some of those might be fixed. So you don't know what's going to happen to these accounts if the production increases. So that's why we use this kind of an income statement. The general public does not get this. This is inside the company. Okay. Pages 3 and 4 we're going to do tonight. Okay, what we're going to do, there's a few ways to solve this problem. And basically it starts out looking just like the other one. You'll notice something though. We aren't given the units. On the first, on the first couple of problems they gave us the units. Page 3 is a little bit different. They don't give you the units. They say, how many units do you need to break even? And break even, if you think about it, that is when your income is 0. You don't make any money, you don't lose any money. So at break even point, your income is 0. So the question is, how many units do we have to sell just to break even? So we have to sell enough units that's going to cover this cost. There's a few ways to do this one. I'm going to show you the way I like to show it, and that is basically keeping the same format, but instead of going down the page, we're going to go across the page with it. So okay, so we have sales minus our variable cost. So just like we have here going down the page, sales minus variable cost. We'll do the same thing except going across the page. Okay, so it's the same thing we just did, but instead of going this way, we're going to go that way. Okay. Now, we don't know how many units yet. So what I do is I make a variable for units. I'm going to say x equals units. And we're going to solve for x. Okay, so our sales. We know we sell each of these for $50. We don't know how many units. So each one sells for 50. Units we don't know. I'm going to put an X in there. That's units. That's that. Variable cost. It's $30 per unit. And again, we know it's $30 a unit. We just don't know how many units it is yet, right? Fixed cost, which looks funny the way I wrote it. Is 40,000. And at break even, our income is 0. So now we just have to solve for x. 50x minus 30x is 20x. I try to get all the numbers on one side and the variable on the other. So we're going to try to get 40,000 on both sides. So add 40,000 each side. That just comes out to 0. This would be 40,000. Okay, then we get these a little bit closer together. So this is just 20x equals 40,000. Again, this is, I'm getting these two nearer to each other. Let's make it a little easier. So 20,000. So to solve for x, we're going to divide both sides by 20. 20 divided by 20 is just 1, so this will be, those drop out, this will be x. And 40,000 divided by 20 equals some number we need Mr. Calculator for. Okay, Mr. Calculator. So it takes 2,000 units to break even. So now if we want this to break even in dollars, we just take this and multiply by the selling price. It's 100,000. Let's check that just to make sure. Yep. That's the same as that. So we're selling 2,000 units. Someone say, well, how much is that in dollars? Well, you multiply by 50, that'll give you the dollar. I'm gonna stop right here for a minute and just kind of go over and kind of show you what's going on here. It's similar to what we did before. This would look like this. If we were to put this into what we did before, it would look like this. Scrape this off as well. Okay, and so our total here, we're out. So what they're really saying is, look, it takes 2,000 units. We calculate this 2,000 units to have income of 0. Oops. So this is our break even. So we want to sell at least 2,000 units, because if we sell less than 2,000 units, we'll be losing money. If we sell more than 2,000 units, we'll be making money. Okay, so what we just did here is really the same thing. It's just that we had to calculate how many units it would take for us to get income of 0. And this is sort of like the starting point from where you want to, if whatever they're selling here, I don't think it tells us, but this is where you want to be above 2,000 when you are selling these things. Okay, coming down here, everything is exactly the same. Mark this up here. Didn't do that. Okay, same thing down here. Starts out exactly the same. Those haven't changed. The only thing that's changed is the income. Everything else is the same. Now we just solve it for X. Oops. So the only thing that's changed is right there. We'll get these closer together. Divide both sides by 20. So X is going to equal 2,500 units. What would be the selling price, the sales, total sales? Well, each one of those, you sell it for $50. Okay. Let's go to page 4. Same thing we just did. Up here, combining those be a good idea. And down here, everything's exactly the same. Oops, you can't see it. 90x. Okay. Let's solve them. Okay, so 32x equals side by 32. And again, this is just the these are the units, these are the selling price of the total sales of the Okay, we'll call it a day for this one. So don't turn anything in. We're going to finish this handout before we turn it in.
All right.
Okay, all right. Well, again, there's